I just think it's unethical. You're basically allowing free rides because you're basically transporting migrants to the English Channel.
Standing here on the platform of a French railway station, ticket clutched in my hand, I've often wondered about the invisible lines that define our world, the lines that we call borders. As the Wondering Englishman, I've travelled far and wide, marvelling at the beauty of France, its countryside rolling past the window like a living postcard. But lately, something has been gnawing at me, a question that refuses to let go. How is it that while I, like millions of honest travellers, pay my fare for the privilege of riding these trains, there are others who board without a ticket, without a single question, and ride all the way to Calais, completely free of charge? You see, the trains heading north to Calais from Lille have become more than transport. They're a conveyor belt, a free service for illegal migrants making their way across France to the English Channel. No frantic searches for euros, no fumbling for tickets. The train guards, well, they look the other way, no questions asked, no checks that seem to matter. Groups board, sometimes dozens at a time, and the rules that bind the rest of us are simply disregarded. And here's the uncomfortable truth that the French authorities don't say out loud. They're doing this on purpose. They don't want these people in Paris or Lyon or anywhere else in France. Better to load them onto the trains, point them north, and wave them goodbye. Why? Because once they reach Calais, the problem becomes Britain's problem.
The train, you weren't checking tickets.
In this train?
Yeah.
Because there is too many people, you know. So sometimes we cannot check every ticket.
You walk through.
What's the problem?
Well, it just seems bizarre you're not checking tickets on this line.
Well, we cannot check every ticket, you know.
I don't think you checked any tickets in certain carriages.
You know there is two trains? Okay, just give me a minute. Tu mettras un petit coup de sifflet quand t'es ça roule comme ça?
Yeah, I don't think you were checking tickets. But for obvious reasons.
Okay, if you want to... Oui, c'est le prochain train pour Hasbrook. Okay, and so?
Well, I just think it's unethical. You're basically allowing free rides because you're basically transporting migrants to the English Channel.
If there is any problem, you can send a message on the phone number inside or on Twitter. I don't know. If you want to complain about something, you know.
Well, I don't think it goes very far.
So it's 4 o'clock. I just arrived in Calais. No, I'm not going to go start looking at migrant camps, but because the reality is there isn't much of a need. What happens, the French authorities are allowing the free transportation of illegal migrants across France as long as they are headed in the direction of England. The conductor on the train couldn't be bothered, didn't want to check tickets for every single migrant, and there was hundreds. The French are quietly delighted that the British government is so bloody stupid, so willing to take these so-called engineers and doctors off their hands. Think about that. You work hard, you work your arse off, you pay your taxes, you buy your tickets, yet these individuals ride for free all the way to the coast. The French rail system, subsidised by taxpayers, becomes part of the pipeline, and Calais is the launch pad. People smugglers are waiting, but not for the thousands of pounds the media loves to quote. No, many pay only a small fee to cross the channel. Some pay nothing at all, as long as they promise to work in the criminal networks once they reach the UK. Or worse still, be ready when the call for jihad is announced. So I'm outside Calais railway station. This is a major transport hub for the coming and going of migrants across Europe so they can reach their final destination, which is England. Why are they coming to England? Well, England is seen as the soft touch of Europe. England is a place where you can get an apartment. This is the place where you get 3 meals a day and money on top of that. In a hotel, 4 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, sometimes even 5 stars. And when you're finished at that hotel, they will put you up in an apartment, a house, sometimes with a garden. That is England. And that is why so many are making the crossing, and that is why so many gather at the train station, and that's why they're now heading to the beaches. This isn't compassion. This is calculated facilitation. And I wonder, philosophically speaking, what this says about the social contract. That unwritten agreement between citizen and state, the one that's supposed to be
that we pay our way, we follow the rules, and in return, the system protects our interests, our borders, our way of life. But when those in power look the other way, they tear that contract to shreds. It's not just about one train ride, it's about sovereignty, it's about fairness, it's about asking whose interests are being served here. Because once they land on our shores in Britain, the British taxpayer picks up the bill. Hotels, housing, food, healthcare, legal aid, the entire asylum system that can drag on for years cost us, the taxpayer, billions and billions of pounds. That's your money, my money. Every single time we pay a bit of tax, it's taken from us and used to facilitate this destruction of the social contract. Money that could fix our NHS waiting lists, repair our roads, support our pensioners and struggling families who are from this nation. Money taken from people who already pay full fare on the same trains these migrants ride for free. Meanwhile, the French authorities, the police, the very train guards we see doing absolutely diddly squat, receive hundreds of millions of pounds from the British government specifically to stop the flow. Corrupt deals have been signed, checks have been cashed, yet the camps around Calais remain, the trains keep rolling, the boats keep launching. It's almost if the money is for show, while the reality on the ground tells a completely different story. The very people paid to secure the border are, through inaction, doing the complete opposite. The French are happily exporting their problem to us, the Brits.
So as I wheel my suitcase to the port of Calais, I have to note it's not one of these cities that you are going to be rushing to see anytime soon. It has a higher crime rate than most places in France. 74 crimes reported per 1,000 of the population. Pretty high by French standards. Lower than London, obviously. But yeah, very dismal architecture, mostly because a lot of it was damaged in the Second World War. So they've had the unfortunate business of buildings being built from the 1950s, 60s, and then you get these sort of monstrosities that have been replaced, the beautiful buildings that were here in the pre-war days. But I find it absolutely shocking. I find it shocking that you have train conductors complicit in ignoring the fact that migrants can travel freely to Calais. As long as they're going to Calais, they can travel freely. And I find that shocking. And the police are complicit in it. They're taking hundreds of millions of pounds from the corrupt British government to facilitate the invasion.
Now we hear of two-tier systems, one rule for the law-abiding system who pays his way, another for those who bypass the rules entirely. As a traveller who loves both Britain and France, it genuinely pains me to say it, but this is not sustainable. Philosophers from Locke to Mill spoke of liberty within the framework of law and responsibility. I ask you, where is the responsibility here? Where is the reciprocity? I wonder these European landscapes, wondering how we arrived at a point where national interests seem secondary to an ideology of open movement regardless of consequences. Compassion for those in genuine need is one thing, and Britain has a proud history of offering sanctuary. But when the system is gamed, when the gaps are exploited, when our own people bear the burden without consent, then we must ask the hard questions that the ideological hard left seem incapable of answering. What does it mean to be a country if we cannot control who enters? What does fairness mean when rule followers are the ones penalised?
There are people smugglers all over this town. Police don't care. As soon as the migrants arrived at the train station, they were met by a handler. The handler would take them slightly to the south of the station, and then they would then begin their journey to one of the French beaches where they would probably be leaving in one of the many future mornings when the waves are not high. Off they go. And then on a certain day, you're probably getting 1,000 crossing the English Channel, days like today. And as soon as they get into British waters, they're met by the Royal Lifeboat Association, picked up, taxi service to the port of Dover, and that is where they are then given hotels, accommodation, mobile phones, new clothes, new shoes, you name it. It is such a shame. We're destroying our continent, but it seems the UK is being destroyed at a faster pace because of what's happening here. Just behind me, the White Cliffs of Dover, and this is Dover Port. Now this is the target for most migrants coming over from Calais. They wish to cross the channel in their rubber boats, very, very dangerous boats, because if they spring a leak, that boat's going down, and it's one of the busiest shipping lanes in all of the world. The shipping lane, huge, huge ships. As you can see, these big ferries, they're going back and forth between Calais and Dover. If those ships strike one of those boats are going down. But the biggest risk is the overcrowding of those boats. The boats filled with fighting age men, predominantly fighting age men, 90% of them are men. Sometimes, if they take a dislike to you, that person is going overboard. Many people don't even have life jackets, so who knows how many people have ended up overboard, never to be found again, never to be recorded that they even crossed the channel. Sometimes women who do dare to cross are getting molested, sometimes raped on these boats. There has been reports of this. When they're brought in by the Royal Lifeboat Association, and they're brought in to that little area over there, unloaded, disembarked, counted, and then they're taken down the pier and then taken into the country. That is the journey of the migrants. Then, after that, put into a 3-star, a 4-star, sometimes even a 5-star hotel, 3 meals a day, lots and lots of food, never needing to worry about bills, all at the expense of the British taxpayer. But this, an amazing viewpoint. You can see France just over there, the castle right behind us. It is amazing to think over the centuries and centuries of use this place has had. From the Romans to the pre-Romans, the Britons were here. They would have had fortifications. Then the Romans, then the Britons again, the Angles, the Saxons, then the Normans, then Henry II, putting his real stamp on it. Henry III, obviously upgrading it, and then all those that came after him. It's quite phenomenal. It really is phenomenal what has been achieved here, and it is really an amazing part of history that is now experiencing front row seats at the changing history of this country as people flood into the country, helped by the Royal Lifeboat Association. They get brought into this little port over here. Unloaded, counted, brought down that pier over there, and then taken into the country, changing the country's demographics forever, inflicting a damage on the taxpayer that future generations are going to be paying for, not only in the changing shape of the country, but they're going to be paying for in the fact that tax money has to come from somewhere. But it is amazing that this place is on the front lines. It is on the front lines of history of this nation.
As the Wondering Englishman, I believe in truth over comfort. We need honest debate, not slogans. Secure borders aren't cruelty. They're the foundation of a functioning society, one that can then afford to be generous on its own terms. So the next time you're on a French train heading north or planning your own trip across the channel, look around. Think about the unseen passengers. Think about the costs, the financial, social, cultural, and ask yourself, is this the Europe we want? Is this the Britain or France we want to leave for our children? Anyway, if you appreciated this, leave a comment below. I had to get this off my chest because I was so angered by what I witnessed in Calais. Keep the faith.